Gillberg's Pro Wrestling Podcast.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mark Bray. This is Dwayne Gill. Welcome to the first ever episode of Gillberg's Pro Wrestling Podcast. It is great to be back with you, Dwayne.
How you doing, Mark, man? Thanks, everybody, for coming for the first inaugural version of Gillberg's Podcast. This is going to be awesome, man.
I'm very excited, folks. On this show, we're going to talk about the way wrestling was, we're going to talk about the way wrestling is, and we're going to bring in guests that maybe you haven't heard from in a while, or maybe some young independent guy that you've never heard of, and you're going to learn all kinds of stories about him, behind-the-scenes stuff. We're really excited to get into this. But Dwayne, of course, when this show comes to air, obviously very recently, we lost someone in our business, someone in the wrestling family.
Yeah, we did.
And, of course, we're talking about Animal. Joe Laurinaitis just recently passed away. And, man, we lose people in this business so young, so quickly. And I know that the Road Warriors were a real big part of your career.
Man, that's one of the reasons I became a wrestler. You know what I mean? I was the biggest mark there was before I became a wrestler, you know, and the Road Warriors were the shit, you know. I mean, they were the shit, and to actually wrestle them as many times as we did, Barry Hardy and I, and to actually become what I call a good friend with Joe, you know. We became very good friends after a while, and like when I first became Gillberg, you know, I had the fame and everything and the TV and everything, and they hadn't been together for a while, if you remember correctly. Mm-hmm. And I saw him on an independent show, and he said, Dwayne, you know, you mind passing my number out? You know, because we're back together and everything. I said, me and my, you know, Road Warriors asked me, you know what I mean? Come on. Yeah, no problem, you know. I got you, Joe. And 6 months later, he's calling me going, Dwayne, that's enough. That's enough. Don't pass it out no more. We can't do all the dates, man. Thank you so very much, but we got it now, okay?
and that's really funny, because it goes to what you talk about in this industry or any industry. You know, you're always good to people because you never know when you're going to need help down the road. And
he was definitely, man, one of the best.
Well, and the reason I bring that up, when we talked about doing the show and we talked about some of the things we were going to talk about early on, we had talked about, you know, your career and your start, and when you got that first call to come up, you know, go up north as they called it, and you told a great story about the Road Warriors, and I know the viewers and the listeners would love to hear that story.
I was so green, what people don't know is the first time I wrestled the Road Warriors, so help me God, we're in the ring, and they could, you know, we talked in the locker room and everything, you know, but then we're in the ring, and I'm in front of 19,000 people. I'm shitting myself. And I'm in there with Barry and Barry Hardy, the gentleman who taught me. I got to thank that man a whole lot. You know what I mean? And we're in the ring, and here they come out, and they walk over, and Animal looks over at me and goes, man, it scared the hell out of me. I backed up, and I went, hey, Barry, they do know this shit's fake, right? And he goes, watch this. He goes, I'm going to break you in half. I want the titles, baby. Put the belts on. I'm going to Barry, shut up, man. Shut up, you know?
You're going to get us killed.
It's the God's honest truth. You can ask Barry Hardy if you think I'm lying to you. We'll have him on here for sure. And he's laughing his ass off. And then we get in the ring, and I'm getting in there with Hawk, and I lock up with him. He pushed me back the rope, and he goes, clothesline, brother. And whips me off, and I'm running. I'm looking back on. He talked to me.
Thank God. Thank God. And you know, it's funny. One of the great things about, you know, people talk about, you know, kayfabe being dead and how the industry has changed. But one of the good things, I think, is you're able to tell a story like that, because, you know, people that have never been in, they don't know how it works. They don't know all the ins and outs. And, you know, you've heard stories like that before, when a guy comes in and he's green and he's new and he's going up against somebody who's been there for a while. You know, they'll beat the crap out of you. So you're scared. You're not just scared about the 15,000 people that are in the ring.
Exactly.
You're scared. What is this guy gonna do? Is he gonna work with me or
well,
what?
luckily, I was God gifted, man. I just had the gift. I was a natural, man, and I could bump my ass off. Mm-hmm. And once they see this guy's willing to do whatever to make me look good, you know what I mean? then you've earned their respect. You see what I'm saying? And see, I was a jobber. That's right, a jobber. I was not an enhancement talent. Okay, I was a jobber. I was not enhancement. I didn't enhance nobody. I went out there and did the job. That's what I did. That's what I loved doing. It was the greatest thing to me. You got to remember one thing. Remember when I started here, I said I was one of the biggest marks ever.
Yeah.
Because of the fact I got to wrestle in WWF against the biggest names there were. I was getting my ass kicked. But you know what I'm saying? I was against the biggest names there were. Come on, man. How much better can it be? And everybody's like, man, you're getting your ass kicked. Yeah. But
So
did you see who kicked my ass? The Undertaker kicked my ass. You know what I mean? It's endless. You know, Kurt Hennig, the British Bulldogs, you know, the Samoans. My God, the Samoans.
And that brings up a good point. You know, when you look at a match, you know, there's three people in the ring, right? There's the talent and the referee, and you have your big star. You know, you've got the guy that they're gonna put over. Well, that other guy's got a job too, and you know, you relish in that role. You tell people, yeah, I was a jobber, and you're proud of that.
Well, that's you got to have it.
Because without that guy,
you got to have the yin and the yang.
You can't
know
have
what
the
I'm
guy.
saying?
You can't have the other guy going over. You know, you can't have that. You need that guy to help put the other guy over, or else, you know, it isn't what it is.
Think about it. They're wondering why, when this stupid COVID stuff's over, the attendance is down so bad before it happened in the arenas because of the fact you can't have the big name wrestling the big name all week long on TV and then show the same match at a damn arena.
Yeah.
You can't do it. You gotta have all job matches, but the last match of the show, and then end before the match actually ends, so that next week they're dying to get on there. Well, with the internet, they'll know 10 seconds after it's over, you know. But you know, they would be dying to see the next show. And you gotta give the people something again, man. You can't have flip. What's a finish move now?
Right.
What is a finish move?
Because it's the same.
I guess the guy got tired of flipping.
Yeah, he got tired of doing the same move 4 or 5 times. And you know what? Dwayne, that actually brings us to our first segment. Our first segment on the show is the state of the business today, where we're going to talk about what's going on with the industry, what's going on right now, and it's really interesting. You know, being in 2020,
I'm going to need these, man. We're getting serious here.
Being in 2020, you know, you got to take that all with a grain of salt. You know, because you've got no fans. You got the product is hurting, but
the product would hurt. You can't knock the product really now with the COVID. You could talk before. I mean, now they're doing the best they can with what they got.
Right.
I mean, brother, they're still putting out a product.
Yeah.
You know, that's not many other people. UFC, thank God, UFC too. But I mean, that's about the only one that's putting out a weekly product.
Well, that brings me to some new statistics that came out just very recently, and it is basically from a financial standpoint, from a numbers, from a demographic standpoint of what's going on with WWE right now. We're going to use WWE as an example because they're the top dogs. They set the benchmark for this industry. That's what they do. And there is a massive drop-off in viewership, in stocks. The stocks are half of what they were. You can, as of yesterday, you could buy stock in WWE for $38.
Oh my God!
And there's been a sell-off, and it's actually started before COVID. And so what they did is they kind of went in and they said, okay, now why is this happening? And they sat and they talked to a bunch of folks, and they interviewed people, and they did surveys, and it said 30% of people that used to watch religiously during the Attitude Era, during the 90s, that 18 to 42 demographic.
I personally like the Attitude
Era. They said that they're not watching anymore because it's too cartoonish. The storylines aren't good. And that's a huge drop off in viewership. And you know, they're fighting this issue now with not having people watching, with not having kids watching. That was the other thing. The other big thing is kids aren't watching anymore. They're not bringing in
Nah.
kids. They're not bringing in kids.
Especially, man, with them home all the time.
Well, what are kids doing all day long? Are they watching TV or are they playing on their phones, on YouTube and stuff like that?
yeah.
So really, the state of the business right now, I it's going to be interesting to revisit after COVID. But on the flip side, you've got a little bit of competition coming back in. AEW, you can put on wrestling pretty much any night of the week.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a new product. You've got your Monday Night Raws. You've got Impact on Tuesdays. You've got AEW and NXT,
NXT,
on Wednesdays. You can find a product going from somewhere. And AEW, man, I love it. I love it. I love what they're doing. I get a good WCW feel from it.
With me, AEW, part of the matches I get the really good feel.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the matches, it's us like, what the hell are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
What was that?
Right.
What was that?
Mm-hmm.
I call me old school, man, but I look at some of the stuff now and it just makes me shake my head and go, what the hell were they thinking? What?
Now, is that just AEW or is that in WWE
No,
as well?
in everything. But I mean, AEW has really hit some things like, I don't know. They just got some weird gimmicks.
Well, let me ask you something about AEW.
Even
then,
the
from your
announcers go,
standpoint,
okay,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
do you feel like this is going to grow into real competition?
Yes, if they knock out some of because what's happening is WWE is going way out on them. They're not just doing wrestling anymore. They're doing some kind of stuff. I don't know. You know what I mean? And they're getting away from wrestling, which AEW's bringing back in.
So they're going to be that
old
alternative
school.
product.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
bringing a little bit of old school, but they're also bringing this space age stuff, Space Girl, Even the announcers go, oh, here comes Space Girl. Okay, whatever. You know what I mean?
So this is a lot. So here's another question then for you specifically. WWE, AEW, TNA, which of these guys that are out there today is the product more like the product that you were a part of?
Ooh, dude, I would definitely say AEW. Look at the boys; they got all the old boys in there, so I know that it's got to be some rub off up in there. You know what I mean? I know that the industry's totally different today,
Right.
and that everything has to be different.
Yeah.
But everybody's up there, man, that I was with, so I know that it's got to be. They're
And-
teaching the boys right. I think AEW is very, very smart with what they're doing because they brought all the old boys back to show the new ones how to act, how to wrestle, how to tell a story. That's why I say half of the matches tell a story, do a beautiful job. They tell, you have a beginning, a middle, a
And then
heat,
you take it home.
the whole deal. And then you take it home and you're, or, oh.
Yeah.
You don't feel like, oh, well, okay, that was another match. They did 97 flips, 47 tags, 57 1, 2, oh.
And it wasn't like that when you were.
No, you did one or two false finishes, then, And as a jobber, to have a false finish, yeah, I kicked out. You know what I mean?
That
I
brings
kicked out once. I'm walking back in trade. I kicked out that match one time.
That brings me to another thing, another segment we're going to do every week here. We're going to call it our Fast Five. So today, I want you to give me
Fast Five. He's hit me with one here.
your top 5 opponents of all time.
Oh, my God.
Who did you love
now,
to be in the
are you
ring
talking
with?
singles or tags?
It doesn't matter. Who are the top 5 people that you loved to work with in the ring?
Wow. Definitely Taker. Definitely Taker, man. I loved working with Taker. The Samoans, for sure. Every brand of them, I wrestled all of them, and they were the best people in the world. They really are. You have no idea. And, hell, Bushwhackers, Smoking Guns, Kurt Hennig, Adam Bomb. I gotta say Papa because I never wrestled him as the Godfather, but the Godfather, he was. I love that dude, man. He's awesome.
If I were to say, give me the number one guy that if you got to work with him in the ring, you were happy as a pig in shit. Like, who was that guy?
Taker.
Why?
Cause I knew exactly what he was going to do. He knew exactly what I was going to do. It was like, hey, Taker, I got you tonight. Okay, brother, see you out there.
So you guys never worked.
Never.
Because I know that
ever,
some guys
ever.
do that. Some guys were notorious for wanting to map out a match, move for move for move for move for move.
I was lucky enough to work the guys enough that they would actually go, look, man, I ain't had a decent match in a couple weeks now. Give me Gil, will you? You know what I mean? And that's, you talk about the Road Warriors. There was one time Barry and I sitting there. We just got done working. We're just sitting there, yeah, getting ready to take our boots off and all. We're done for the night, yeah. And the Road Warriors come in after a match. Where the fuck is Gil and Hardy? Where's Gil and Hardy? You guys, stay right there. Don't get undressed. And they go right into Vince's office. They come out, you wrestled us next. We're like, what the hell? They're like, next. They're like, yeah, just do what we do.
Do what we do.
You know what I mean? That's what we do. You know what I mean?
And a lot of folks don't know. Maybe some of the folks at home that like I said, haven't been on this side. You'll work a program with a guy. You go on tour.
Oh yeah.
And you'll do this. You'll work with the same guys night in, night out for an extended period of time. Mm-hmm. You did that a lot with the Road Warriors.
With the Road Warriors, with the smoking guns, with the bushwhackers, with the head shrinkers, you know, you name it, man. We went on the road and did it with them.
Very cool.
For sure. We were basically, Barry and I were contracted wrestlers, if you know what I'm saying. We would be on the road 25, 30 days a month, but never had the contract. We'd start out on the bottom of the B tour, and before the end of it, we're at the top, wrestling on the main event because our matches were so good. Mm-hmm. They would move them up. Next thing you know, a tag team match is at the end of the show because of the fact we'd get out there and work 35, 40 minutes, and the boys didn't want to sit there. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So it was cool as hell, man. We loved it. We loved every minute of it, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, every minute of it.
That's fantastic. Hey, guys, we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to bring on our very first guest of this show,
I'm excited. I love this guy, man. I love this guy.
He's a friend of ours.
Yes, sir.
He is someone that I cannot wait to talk to. We got Playboy Bobby Starr coming up here, man. That's why we got the WCW.
Bobby!
You guys stick around. We'll be right back.
Gillberg's Pro Wrestling Podcast. Hey everybody, it's Gillberg, and man, am I excited to be on Cameo. Give all your interesting and most favorite people a cameo from Gillberg. So get in touch with me, baby, and here I come.
Welcome back to Gillberg's Pro Wrestling Podcast.
Here we
go. Folks, we got our first guest ever on this. He's a friend of ours. He's a friend of the show. If he is a fixture in the Mid-Atlantic region.
Yes,
but he's
he is.
also been up to the dance a couple of times. Man, the accolades for this guy right here, we could go down the list.
And we talking WWF and WCW.
And WCW.
Both of them, brother. Both of them.
He is a friend of ours. Please welcome to the program, Playboy Bobby Starr.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, buddy. Yeah.
Being I just turned 49 like 2 days ago, the Playboy thing's not so much anymore, but Bobby Starr, guys.
Yeah, but you know, man, you always need to Playboy to us, brother. You always
and that was the WCW thing, the whole Playboy deal. But thank you. It's amazing. Dwayne called me a couple of weeks ago and asked me, and he goes, "Would you want to be part?" And I'm going, "What do you mean? I would." Bro, if it wasn't for you, this is the guy that took me to WWF.
The inaugural, baby, the inaugural.
It's amazing the things that we went through and all the boys in our crew went through.
The fun,
people
man.
don't realize that you got to have somebody give you a shot somewhere. Mm-hmm. And when I got into the wrestling business, I knew this much. And Axel Rotten and that crew introduced me to Dwayne, who had trained under Barry. And then I finished my training at the Monster Factory, which was Dwayne and Barry's place.
Yep.
You know.
And I want to get into all that. Let's rewind it a minute. So you got to Baltimore, right? You're a kid. You're
little guy.
You're a little guy, and like anyone who's ever grown up in this region of the country, we get a little thing called snow days. You know, with school.
Yeah, but
and one day you're watching, looking for cartoons on
Actually,
TV.
bro, without
Listen,
you even knowing it,
I know Bob Starr and his group of friends used to go around his little neighborhood and get all the mattresses and all that were thrown out and built a freaking ring out of them. I know
Yep.
this for a fact,
Yep.
man.
It's
It's the truth, ain't it?
it's amazing how it worked in a local scene here in Maryland. What Dwayne's saying 100% true.
Barry, I and Axel and I started the actual Maryland
Wrestling
wrestling
scene.
scene. Yeah.
But I mean, the story you were just saying, the way you said it, and it's freaky because I didn't tell you that, and you pulled it out of the air. It was a snowstorm. My mom was about as close to a professional bowler as you could get at one time. She bowled 6 nights a week. So, of course, growing up with her, she got me into the bowling thing. And we would go bowling every Saturday. And there was a snowstorm. And because of that snowstorm, I'm sitting there and I get my bowl of cereal and I sit down to watch cartoons. I turn the TV on and it's WWF. And it took one time. Paul Orndorff and Roddy Piper. I watched them beat the shit at each other. And as they're doing it, you see all these gorgeous women at ringside with high hair. Because back then in the 80s, you had the high
The
hair.
beehives.
Yeah. Well, no, that's before me, Dwayne. You're a little bit senior to me, but the high hair, the rock
The
and
Farrah
roll
Fawcett,
look.
how's
Right.
that? The Farrah
And
Fawcett.
you get paid to travel, and count me in. And from the very first day, that's how it was. And then what Dwayne said is true. Myself, Dennis Whipwreck, which is half of the owner of MCW here now, and a bunch of our friends. We would go around. You would have to have, the ring was 6 sets. And if you don't think finding 6 beds isn't a pain in the ass, but we did it. Then we used rebar for the ring post and had ropes, and the ropes were tight. You could hit the damn things just like you did with a regular ring. And we had our little backyard wrestling thing, and that's where it kind of all started,
That's
and
the
there was a
truth,
couple
man.
of
It's
us.
the
Like,
truth.
I was the only one out of the group that literally started training to be a pro at the North Avenue gym here in Baltimore, and I would take what I learned there back to the backyard and was showing my friends, because basically all we ever did was imitate what we saw on television.
Yeah.
The way we called our matches was,
But they were killing each other.
do this. You would name the person, and then
Yes.
you would automatically know what the move was. And like today, no chance, because you don't ever know what these guys are going to do. Like, they don't stick to one thing anymore.
And it's
Like-
crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah,
now.
I
It's
mean,
ridiculous.
and you know what? Here's the thing. I listened to the opening of the show offset as the moon was rising. That's an inside joke. And then you have to
Ain't it,
understand the way
It ain't all it's cracked up to be.
the way this
Well, there is a
business
crack.
has
Yes, sir.
changed. The way
That's
this
a business
business,
like
the way the business has changed now, and don't get me wrong, I like the Young Bucks. There was this much heat right in the beginning because I saw something they had
Yeah, but
did,
they
and I
are
commented, and Matt Hardy jumped all over me, and Shane Helms and a couple of the guys jumped on me, and I get it. There's a place for everybody and everything in the business. But I'm kind of like with Dwayne. It's like I am impressed by the stuff they can do because I'm thinking there is no way my fat ass is getting up in the air like that. But there's back in the day, the biggest mistake.
You break the line of believable.
Right.
Is what it is. Is you break the line of believable because some of those moves, if you spun and flipped and kicked somebody the way that they're doing, that son of a bitch be dead.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. That's why when the guy dies, the Samoan dives off the top and hits you, and you see a 400-pound Samoan dive 10 feet in the air and land on top of you, the match is done.
Dude,
Right.
I was
Done.
I
He
was-
could stand up and put his finger on you. The match is done. It isn't up.
So
What the hell?
Based on what you're saying, like that, if it was like that then, you could conceivably have someone like Yokozuna do that thing off the second rope where he falls on a guy's chest and then the guy kicks out.
Yes. Today, yes.
It's not going to happen. He's never going to kick out of that. You're going to break the guy's chest open,
Dude. And Yoko was the nicest,
Yep.
kindest person.
That's it.
As much heat as he had and as mean as he was on TV, he was the kindest, gentlest person. You would not have believed. Hey, brother, how you doing? That's how quiet and how he spoke. He was first class all the way, dude. That guy was awesome. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get off track.
And
I
we're-
do.
and
I
we're
do
gonna-
the same thing, man. It's
I
one of them
love
things
Yoko, man.
You just
Yoko
go off on
was
a
so
tangent
cool.
and stories.
He used to come to Maryland, and he treated the local boys. So Earl the Pearl, man. Earl, where you at, brother? Used to call his mother's house. Where's Earl? Hey, this is Yoko. Yoko loved Earl, man. Earl the Pearl and Yoko were. I remember one night we were all drunk and on. Earl's a little guy. He kept looking over, and Yoko said, "Go ahead." He put Yoko's gi on. He wrapped that sumbitch around him about 16 times, man. We laughed so hard, man. Yoko laughed so hard, man.
That's hilarious.
He was hilarious, man.
Well, we'll talk.
I'm
a little
sorry.
Bit more. No.
Hey, Bob,
That's
what's
fine.
up, bro?
You're gonna have to like.
We go
There's
off.
a lot of
Wait,
times I'm gonna have to sit back and just let you guys
yeah,
go.
we
You
go
got,
off.
you
Yeah,
got
this
notes and questions
we
and
can just
stuff.
throw that out
I
the
mean,
window.
me and him,
but-
It's like a WCW format.
Hey,
right
here you
before
go.
Nitro.
How
Well,
about
you know
this?
what?
Ask him how many jobs I cost him.
Well, we're gonna get
He
into
had
that.
so many
We're
good
gonna
jobs,
get into
man.
that. So you start training. And it's so funny you talk about
Oh.
being in the backyard. I think everybody, us, the guys over here in the crew, we all at one point with
Thank
the
you guys,
boys
by
in the
the way.
neighborhood trying to learn the moves.
Mm-hmm.
And I specifically remember we were trying to figure out the figure four.
Right.
And you knew when you figured it out. The first kid that figured it out knew because it hurts like, I was
Oh,
like,
God.
yeah,
For
that's
real,
it,
yeah.
Oh, if
that's
you're
it.
putting
That's
it
what I
on
try to tell
legitimately.
people. All of our moves are
Oh,
real,
man.
but they're fake.
But
You know what I mean? You apply pressure, you kill somebody, but you don't apply the pressure.
You don't apply the pressure. You took it to that next level. You trained to do it professionally.
Mm-hmm.
And, tell me about the Monster Factory.
Well, the Monster Factory, I didn't start there. I finished there, but where I started at was with Bad Boy Ricky Lawless, was an independent guy on the East Coast.
Yep.
And then when he died, which was only about 3 months into my training, I went down to North Avenue. And at North Avenue, Dave the Wave was there,
Yep.
Axel was
Yep.
there,
Joey Maggs.
Joey Maggs was
Yep,
there.
that was basically Joey Maggs'
AJ
deal,
yeah,
wasn't it?
AJ
It was basically
Fritzwood's.
Joey's.
Well, no, it was Jimmy's because Jimmy chained Joey.
Oh, was it Jimmy's?
Yeah, and then Joey kind of took over it when Jimmy got killed.
God, remember AJ?
Yeah, AJ Fritzwood, the first Black Dynamite guy, man. He great big 260-pound guy.
And you could
fly.
clothesline him, and he could do a flip.
Yep.
I mean, a flip and land.
He's just a
boom
natural
on his face.
acrobat.
Oh,
and loved
God.
the business. Loved the business.
260 pounds and on like a 60-pound guy.
Let's talk about your first stint in the WWE.
Wow.
You're working at a car dealership.
No, that's
Oh,
not the
that's,
first.
that's not
one.
the first
was way
No.
after.
The very first time I went up there, believe it or not, it's funny. Dwayne calls me up and he says, "Hey Bob, this date's," and I don't remember what arena it was, and I'm like, "Oh shit, it's go time." Mm-hmm. We get there and I'm dying. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I didn't work the first 2 days. Like I didn't work the whole trip, and I was just scared shitless the whole time. Then a couple of weeks later, he calls me and says, "Hey, we got another one. Let's roll." So we go. This was a 3-day trip, and I think we went to Canada on that one.
Mm-hmm.
And WWF at the time, I think they were getting ready for like one of their first European trips.
Mm-hmm.
So they taped all this extra television just to make sure they had everything in a can while the guys are traveling, whatever. So I end up wrestling Barry and Dwayne as the Executioners. I end up wrestling the Road Warriors. I end up wrestling Barry and Dwayne, I think, again the next night. And we did 40-man battle royals, which were taped for Coliseum home video, which is kind of cool because I'm a WCW guy. I'm the first one to say
Can I
it.
interrupt? That 40-man battle royal, let me explain to you.
Oh, geez. Here we go.
I went around to everybody because I love Bobby. Bobby and I are very good friends. We live close, and we've been through 25, almost 30 years of business
hell.
together. And so I went around to all the boys because I was a regular up there, and Bobby was new. So I'm like, hey, the redheaded guy. At the beginning of the battle royal, everybody chopped the shit out of him. So during, we're getting ready for the match, and you can slowly see everybody get up against the ring, up against the ropes, and Bobby's in the middle of the ring by himself.
Needless to say, this isn't the one on the Coliseum home
The
video.
bell rings, right? This is the first night. The bell rings, and everybody turns and runs to Bobby and starts going whack, 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 whack. And he's just like this.
And
He
you
goes-
had no idea
And he
this was coming.
screams
No,
at the top of his
no.
lungs. He goes,
Stop
"Stop
chopping me."
chopping me!" And everybody goes, "Ah!" And just walked away. And he's in the middle of the ring like
And-
this.
and you had-
and everybody's just laughing their ass
Now,
off.
mind
Vince-
you, what he's not telling you is, I got the Road Warriors.
Uh-huh.
I got the Samoans.
Oh, yeah.
I got the Guns.
I was about to say,
Greg
there
the
was some heavy
Hammer,
hitters in that.
Yoko,
IRS
everybody.
in there.
Everybody was
You
in
got,
in this
$1 Million
battle
Man. You got Bret
Yeah,
Hart.
that's what I'm saying.
You've got Owen Hart. I mean,
Destroyed
you've got
him.
Oh, Owen Hart loved it because he
You
was a
got-
river. So he loved it. He thought it was hilarious, and so did Davey Boy.
So everybody's walking away laughing. After the match, Vince calls everybody into a room and goes, "You fucking ruined my match.
I didn't do shit.
We got to do it again tomorrow." I mean, we all had personal interviews. Yeah. Dwayne Gill, Barry Hardy, Bob Stark. Everybody, we come walk to the ring. Yeah. We fucked it all up.
So Vince was not happy.
Oh,
We-
no,
we
he
had to
was
shoot-
not.
we had
And
to
leave
shoot
the
that.
redheaded fucking kid alone.
We had to shoot
Didn't
that
he? Am
3
I lying?
nights. Yep, we had to shoot that 3 times to get one video out of it. Because the next night it was like Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, which is where
Wasn't
the
the
first
next night when
Royal
Skinner
Rumble-
went nuts and went all over everybody?
No, that's when he kicked that guy in the face. Mark jumped the barrier.
Oh, that's right.
And as he's
We all
coming
beat
in,
the
Skinner
shit out
kicked
of
him
him.
in the face, and Skinner had legit steel toe boots on. Knocked all the guy's front teeth out right on the apron.
Jeez.
Oh, everybody, bah.
Yeah, and
You
it's like-
don't come in that ring,
Yeah,
bro.
see,
You don't come in that ring.
That used to be an
You'll
unwritten
get killed,
rule.
man.
In today's society in 2020, you would get sued and all this crazy shit would happen.
I don't know
But
about
back
today. Back then, we were brothers,
then,
man.
and we
were
protect
brothers.
each other. Like, I might be working with this guy and you think I hate him or whatever, but A, I don't hate him.
Yeah.
B, nobody's coming in that ring and risking any of our lives because everything we do, you can label it fake or work or whatever you want
But
to
we
call
can
it.
die
Take
at
care of
any
each
moment.
other.
Yeah,
You
we
can die
you
at any
could-
moment,
yeah,
bro.
dude, think about it. If you're in a suplex and you're upside down and that dude, like there used to be a brain buster where you would drop down, but the dude at the last minute is curling your head in, so you're almost taking a bump to your back. If he accidentally dropped you on your head, you're done. Look at Owen Hart and Steve Austin.
Yeah.
You're done.
You're
Just
And
like
done.
Owen is the best in the,
Yep.
was the best in the business. I mean,
Yeah.
but Steve, I'm sorry, brother. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
But yeah,
Look it up. Look at D'Lo and Draws.
So story time.
Yeah, come on,
Story
bro.
time. When you opened the show, you talked about Animal, and Animal and Hawk were good friends of mine too.
Oh, yeah, very
was,
good friends.
I was closer to Hawk, just because when he came to WCW, Animal wasn't with him, so we spent some time. I got to work with him a couple times there, and he knew me from the Independents and WWF and stuff, and it's like to try to explain to the people the loudest noise you ever heard in your life.
Oh,
And I
when
worked
they
for
walk out the
both
curtain.
companies. Okay, I worked for both companies. There was 2 people, Hogan and the Road Warriors. They go, "Oh my God, the Ultimate Warrior." They pop for Warrior, but for this long.
Yeah.
When the Road Warriors would come out, we're into Cobb's Coliseum, Hamilton, Ontario.
Well, you hear that,
Oh,
and then
At
the
the
place goes
time,
nuts.
let me set it up. At the time, they've got that stupid ass puppet Rocco, which they all hated. Okay, and they said, "Listen, what we're going to do is they're going to go out and talk to Mean Gene on the podium. We're going to send you to the ring as they're walking back, and then they come out to do the match." Okay, cool. So we get out there, and I'm looking around, and the shit that the marks would say to us when we're walking to the ring was just, they didn't get it. You can call me a piece of shit, you can call me a job or whatever, and I'm looking at you going, "You're the dumbass that paid to see me, so
Yeah.
whatever." So we get out in the ring and blah, 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 and oh, what a rush. Dude, my ass just tightened up. You couldn't stick a pencil in that son of a bitch. I'm looking around, and these people explode. It's not a pop. It's a Road
It's
Warrior
an
pop,
explosion.
which is a totally different pop. And the only guys that know that are the guys that got in the ring with them. Whether
Yep.
it be the top main event guys, which of course was even worse because there was a story that led,
Right.
the emotion, or any of us doing jobs or whatever the deal is. And like those guys never forgot, man. Hawk. I'll tell a quick side story. Me and him are on a tour. A guy calls me up for the AWA, the newest version, whatever. We're gonna go to Indiana for 3 days,
Oh, yeah, okay,
and
yeah.
the Road Warriors are the main event. So they end up missing the middle show because the guy gave them directions. He told them the name of the town. Well, the problem is where we were at in Indiana, there was 2 towns with the same name.
And they're about 300 miles apart.
Yeah, they went to the wrong town, and by the time they could have drove to where we were at, the show would be over. So the last night of the loop, where me and Dwayne are rooming, the guy got us a hotel right at the airport, so he didn't have to get us to the airplane in the morning. And we're sitting in the bar, and as always, like people think wrestlers make all this money, and we did make good money, but we also conserve on the road because we had a home, our home, we had bills at home, I mean, Dwayne had a wife and a young son and a daughter. I mean, luckily, I don't have any kids I know about, and this is not the way to, don't come knocking, right? But so we're sitting in the bar, and we're like, we would figure $20 a night for dinner and whatever. Hawk comes walking in, hey boys, and we're like, hey, what happened to you guys? He's like, that stupid ass sent us to the wrong town. He goes, we couldn't make it, whatever. And we're looking at the menus and stuff, and Hawk orders all this shit, and he goes, and whatever those two are eating. Of course, me and Dwayne, trying to be respectful, like, okay, let me get a burger. And he goes, no, I got it. Eat. You
Yep.
know, you guys worked your ass off. I can handle it. I mean, he's making $3,000 a night cash, right? We're making, I don't know what Dwayne's deal was, but I know I was making $350. You know what I mean? And it's like they always knew that we were pay scaled down. But guys like Hawk, he didn't think anything of throwing the money on a bar and taking care of us. Ric Flair, same way. There's so many guys like Joey Maggs. I'll never forget the night he got his contract. We came to Atlanta, and he was so happy to see us. Like, he hadn't seen me in 6 months, but we were boys from back home, and just that his friends were there. You know, he bought everybody all their food and drink that night. You know, and it's just, that's what's missing in the business now. And I'm not going to say there's not little cliques and friends and stuff like that, but it's nothing like it was before. Like, these guys took care of us. There's
That's
no
like-
one of today's group. We talked about this a little while ago.
Yep.
None of these kids can ever say, you know what, I did an enhancement job match for such and such, and I made this, and that guy came back and palmed me another $100.
Listen to this. Listen to this. Remember, I was telling you about how I started putting out animals' name, you know, their back and all that, and they said stop, stop, stop. I saw him on a show like a week later. Come up to me and shakes my hand and goes, brother, thank you so much. Shakes my hand, and I shit you not, there was a wad of hundreds that big around. Shakes my hand, got a rubber band. I go, what the hell is this? He goes, you deserve it, man. We've made so much money because of you. I went, no, brother, you're my boys, man. He goes, no, you fucking take it. $7,500.
Wow. And again,
That's no
rest-
I can-
7,000. Buy. Here you go, Dwayne.
I can tell stories the same way. We're in, I was doing a loop with Tom Brandy and Steve Carino, and we were in North Carolina. We had to go from North
He's a
Carolina
great guy.
up,
What,
to
Brandy?
up to
And
Pennsylvania.
Carino, Jesus, both of them,
To a
man.
big fair show, then turn around, get in a car, and come to Baltimore for a nighttime show. So we drive all night. Carino's truck breaks down. We go through total hell getting there. We show up at the fairgrounds or whatever, and this is a big show. It's a Hunter Q. Robbins ran the show.
Okay, yeah.
And Hawk was on it, and we were on it. Salvatore Sincere, there's a lot of big names on it. So comes time for gimmick time. We go out to the gimmick table, and I got my Polaroid camera and all my shit, and Hawk doesn't have anything with him, right? And he goes, little brother, you got a camera? And I'm thinking, oh, fuck, if I let him use my film, I'm not going to make any money. He starts taking pictures with these people. Now, where I'm getting $5 or $10, Hawk's getting 25, okay, all day long. He just keeps handing me money, like throwing money at me. And I mean, the line's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm going, bro, I only got like 3 more rolls of film left. Jesus Christ. He burned every picture in that camera and didn't take a dime. He just kept shoving the money in. I had like a singlet thing on. He kept shoving the money in it. And afterwards, I get it all out. I said, bro, you made like $800. He goes, keep it, kid. He was, I'm good. If the Marks have got money, we're taking it. And it was just like, what the fuck? Like, it blew my mind because here I think I'm making $125 for the day.
Yep.
And I went home
That's
with
kind of guys they were,
$1,000.
man. That's kind of,
You know,
what I'm saying.
because
That's
like
kind
he
of
said,
guys they
it's
were.
no sweat off his ass. He made his $3,000 for his appearance.
Plus,
So
they had
here-
businesses, and you know
Yeah.
they were smart. They were very
when
smart.
they
people.
signed that Zubaz deal, dude, there was none of us that didn't have those things.
Oh,
Everybody
I had
had
so many
Magnum-
pairs of Zubas, it was
Magnum
unreal,
high
man.
tech boots, Zubas, pouches. I mean, I'm wearing California hardware today. I mean, like it. People don't get it. Like that's like right now, Al Snow, and I want to shout out to Collar and Elbow. They're all this.
Thank
stuff's
God for Al
comfortable.
Snow and the
Yep.
Job Squad, baby. There'd be no me, bro.
Yep. I mean,
Thank you, Al.
he sells good quality merchandise. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's all got wrestling designs and stuff like that. All the boys are wearing that stuff. And yeah, he gives a lot out to the boys. But that's smart business. The Road Warriors used to walk into the dressing room in WWF and have big boxes and just drop them. Guys, have at it. Why? Because when the people on TV saw running and everybody's wearing Zubas, or they see us in the airport and they're comfortable as hell, you know, it's just
Didn't
kind of
wanna
like
go out and buy 'em.
it's like
Yeah,
designer
so did I.
sweatpants.
So
You
did I,
know what
yeah.
I mean? And it's like designer sweatpants. And of course now, guys at WWF, you have to wear a suit and tie.
Yeah.
The whole idea was we're getting the shit beat out of us. I'm going to be as comfortable as I
You know,
can from town to town.
They
you know?
they say from then and now, okay? Back then, They thought it was real, but we knew how to do it to make it look real, okay? And we could last forever. Today, they know it's fake and they beat the living hell out of each other. The normal boy could only last 2 months on the road, where you could go years.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, look at Lawler. Look at Lawler. They literally killed him in the ring.
Yep.
I talked to him. He said, man, Ziggler dropped that first elbow. He said, what the hell was that? He said, well, man, maybe he just accidentally boom. I was like, what the hell was that?
Like you guys trying to have a 2-year
he said, I think
career.
the third
what
one,
are you doing?
10 count. He goes, 10 dies. He said, I think the third one killed me.
If
He
it's
said, I really
done-
think I died there in like 8. I woke back up.
Yeah.
He said, Dwayne, I'm telling you, man, they're fucking killing each other out there.
and
They don't know
that's
how to
gonna lead
work.
to a problem.
And
Because
Golf Ziggler's one of the best there is.
back in our day, the guys, they may not be a lot were bodybuilders. But I'm saying you had Dick Murdoch, Dick Slater, Dusty Rhodes, Magnum TA. Magnum was a bodybuilder, but look at Dusty. And I'm not slighting Dusty at all. I'm just saying these were men. Okay, they
Hardcore.
worked a
Stan
harder
Hansen.
schedule. They worked a harder schedule than any of these kids of today ever will. Okay, and these kids today need time off for injuries. Oh, I got
Because they're beating the hell out of
Yeah,
each other.
yeah,
And
they-
flip, 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 flip,
And
flip, 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 flip.
but understand, I'm not downing what their product is at all. I love AEW. It's the only show that I can actually stomach right now.
Yeah, but
with
that's what
the
I'm saying.
pandemic.
AEW's got they bring back they know how to tell a story.
Well-
Okay, you don't need 97,000 moves. You need 10. And do it right. Tell a story while you're doing it.
Well, look
and they
at who's
have
there.
a
Arn,
couple of
Tully. You know,
Jay-
all the
JR.
people,
Everybody,
all the people that
JR,
used to
everybody.
work for Vince. Vince had this epiphany: get rid of the old guys and bring in the new blood. But the new blood don't know what they're
Nope.
doing. Like Raven
That-
told me a long time ago, a story just like you just said. He goes, Bob, the key to this business, whether you're over or under, whatever the deal is, get 5 moves, learn how to do them correctly, and that they look good. Use them all every single time, every match. Use all 5 moves.
So everybody knows you.
If you have 5 and he has 5, there's something called working that you do in between those moves, and that's a lost art for him. Like these people, you don't get it. I could walk to the ring, working for WCW, and turn to the crowd and start bitching at them, and these people, they feed it back to you. So if you're bitching and they're not feeding it, you're not bitching right. You're not saying the right things or acting the right way. And it was funny because I never got the big deal. You know, everybody knows that. And for the inside guys, I clowned around for a couple of years there and worked a lot actually. But just as myself, I made a good amount of money. It wasn't spectacular, but I paid my bills for like 6 straight years before I had to get a full-time gig, you know. But the thing of it is like
I
Dwayne
got a
said,
story for you.
Hold that thought. Hold that thought, because I want to talk more about WCW here in a second. But we're going to take a quick short break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to continue our conversation here with Bob Starr, Dwayne Gills here. This is Gillberg's Pro Wrestling Podcast. We're going to be right back.
Gillberg's Pro Wrestling Podcast. Hey everybody, it's Gillberg, and man, am I excited to be on Cameo. Give all your interesting and most favorite people a cameo from Gillberg. So get in touch with me, baby, and here I come.
Hey guys, welcome back to Gillberg's Pro Wrestling Podcast. We are continuing our conversation with Bob Starr. Bob, man, we started before the break to start talking a little bit about WCW. You spent a lot of time down there.
Yeah.
And one of your first matches with that company, Big Van Vader, he had just dropped the title.
That was actually
to Ron
about
Simmons.
a year in.
Well, but he had just dropped the title to Ron Simmons, right?
Baltimore Arena.
Okay. Tell me about that match.
August 8th, I think it was. Something
We
like
tried to
that.
kill you.
Well, here's the thing. I had worked for the company previous,
Oh.
and what had happened, I wrestled Nikita Koloff, and everybody remembered. Everybody was cool. I did okay, nothing special. But Jody Hamilton, the assassin, who was in charge of hiring extras and stuff, he remembered me. So I see Baltimore is on like a Wednesday night or something. So instantly I knew it was a TV taping. And I start calling the office, and they book me to come in, whatever. So when I go in, on the board, it says Bob Starr, Marcus Bagwell. And I'm like, cool, it's in my hometown. I've worked with Marcus before. Buff's awesome to work with. Well, then they pulled us in the meeting room.
I was there, by the way. I wasn't in the
He was
locker room. I was
booked, but
in
he
the
didn't
audience.
work.
Remember?
Oh, you were in the audience?
Yeah, I was in
thought
the
you were
audience.
booked,
No,
but
I
you
was
didn't work.
in the audience.
Because that night in Baltimore, for the independent side of it, which was kind of really small at the time, almost everybody that worked on the indies here was on that show. AJ Fritzoid worked, Beach Boy Vinny worked. Axel didn't though. That's what's funny. He got paid to sit in the dressing room, but it was kind of like he already started to have a name because of doing the hardcore stuff or whatever. So I think that's why they did that. And then he eventually went on to work with PN News and so on and so forth. So they call us in the office, and it's like Jody Hamilton and Mike Graham and Magnum TA and a bunch of other guys. All the producers, or what they call producer now. They were agents then, but they go, listen, and they didn't, and this kayfabe's still happening. So I'm on the crew. I'm working for the company. They never told me that Ron Simmons was winning the belt. All they said was, hey, at the end of the match, at the beginning of the match, Vader's going to come out, slide in, shit can both of you guys, and then they're going to call a promo, whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't know that the title's about to change, and I'm standing in the dressing room, bullshitting, whatever. You hear an explosion come from out there because first black world champion that they know
huge.
of, like that a national audience knows.
It's huge though.
Right.
It's huge.
And Ron, super nice guy.
Oh,
Guy.
man.
Um,
The best.
He won the world title, and Leon, I don't care what he says, and it's all a work, but you still get pissed off at different things. Boy, I could tell that because I get in the ring, everybody in the first 15, 20 rows knows me from coming to Independence and stuff like that, or seeing me on television. You know? I get out there, I do my stuff, I get my little boo from the crowd. Buff comes out, and he's still doing the baby face, Sprayberry High School baby face, with the high hair and stuff. He comes out, the people pop, we lock up, lights out. I don't remember shit. Vader come from beside, slid in, came, boom, when he hit me with a clothesline from out of nowhere. I mean, I didn't see it coming. He sandwiched my head against the top cable, and there was the difference. WWF, rope, WCW, cable, two different worlds. Totally different kind of ring.
I remember the first time I hit them, man. I went down there, Bob. Come on, man. Get you down to WCW. Awesome, man. No problem. I got in there. I ran over as fast as I could, hit that rope. That thing bent my back. I was like, ooh.
That's very interesting.
I couldn't breathe. Oh, my
It was
God,
elevator
man.
cable is what they use.
And it's very interesting because a lot of folks, that are, might be watching that, just, from a fan's perspective, that the ring size is different.
18 and 24.
Right.
Yeah.
But you may not know that about the ropes.
Right.
That's
Yeah, cables and
cables as opposed to rope.
WWF was like rope, like you would use at a rodeo type thing, wrapped in tape.
Literally,
Right.
1 inch rope.
The
Inch and a half.
WCW was about an inch and a half elevator
I would
cable.
say 3/4 inch cable with hose on it.
Yeah, but it was like
Literally a garden
lift
hose.
an elevator.
Yeah.
They put the garden hose stuff on it, tape that up, and that's what you're hitting. And it's like people just think it's a joke. Just hitting the damn ropes, you can get beat to death.
That hurts.
You know what I mean? Oh, you.
Oh, I
come home
mean,
and have bruises all
unbelievable,
over.
man.
You see 'em on
Unbelievable.
TV. So
Because at WWF, when you grab the ropes and you hit, you go and you stretch
Way
for a
back.
long way, and then you shoot off. They
Not
shoot
on
you off.
WCW.
Man, I hit
no,
them
they
things. I
bounce
said,
right
"Ugh." I mean, I thought I
'Cause
broke my
remember,
back. I really
these
did.
Rings at TV aren't geared to us. They don't give a shit about us.
Uh-uh.
It's for these guys that are 350 pounds that's got to hold them. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? We hit them because when I hit the ropes, I would lean in hard. I always did. And I would go back a little ways, but you'd see Hogan hit the ropes. Jeez, the rope stretches all the way down, and then they just throw them away and put new ones on the next day. And then when
Yep.
they went on the road, they would have a fresh set. Like they would constantly throw ropes away up there. WCW, same cable because it never.
I had my
runs out.
schools. I had many canvases from there. Many canvases.
well, let me ask you. So when,
So now we're WCW.
yeah,
My first match in WCW was actually NWA. It was right as they were changing.
they're changing over.
And that's when I worked with Nikita Koloff. And then I didn't hear nothing. It was almost a year when that Baltimore show happened. Got into that one, and because of that, in that match, it's funny, and some of the boys know the story, but when he sandwiched my head against that top rope, I thought he broke my eardrum.
Mhm.
And like the rest of the night, I could, like, everything was really, really loud. So I go home, and I'm sitting in the house, and, time to recoup. I'm hurt, whatever. And the phone rings. And I go answer the phone, and it's, hello, and it's, hey, kid, this is American Dream Dusty Rhodes. I hung the phone up.
You thought it wasn't real.
Well,
Or you couldn't hear.
I'm in a business full of ribbers like this guy
Yeah.
and Barry and everybody else, and the phone rings again, and the same shit, and I hung up. Third time I picked it up, he goes, "Kid, you hang that fucking phone up on me again, you'll never work for this company again." And I went, "Uh-oh." And he's like, "Listen, I need you in Atlanta, Georgia, if you're available, Monday night. I have no driver's license. I haven't even got my license check. I'm a young kid, right?" I'm like, "Sure, no problem, Dream. I'll be there." So I'm booked for Atlanta, Center Stage, and Anderson, South Carolina. My first 2 matches were Johnny B. Bad and Van Hammer. And it's hilarious. My girlfriend let me take her Chevy Sprint 5-speed, and a guy named Ricky Tango from Western Maryland looked like Hogan with the handlebar mustache.
Yep.
And boom, we're heading to Atlanta. No license. Driving all night long. Jesus Christ. That was the longest trip of my life. I never drove that far in my life. And it's like we get there, we got to Center Stage, and somebody goes, "Hey kid, you need to get some rest." I'm like, "Where do the boys stay? I've never been here before." They're like, "Oh, you got to go to the Ramada, the dungeon." And I'm like, "Well, where the hell is that?" "Oh, by the airport." And I'm going, "Dude, you're from here. I don't know where the hell I'm at. I'm in a strange city." Grizzly Smith said, "Kid, follow me." Famous last words, Jake's dad. You ain't following his ass. He's driving this gigantic, I think it was a Cadillac at the time, 150 miles an hour. Boom, he's gone. So I'm figuring, we go this way, I'll see this thing eventually. And we found the hotel, and then of course it was hell fine in Center Stage that night. But excuse me, that was my start with the company. And from that date, just like Dwayne, I didn't have a contract. I wished, because they were handing out guaranteed money already. But it was, Jody saw
We
something
made good
in
money,
me
buddy.
that I, what do you call it? No, I wasn't in perfect shape, but I was a good size. He could tell I could work just from the first 2 guys he put me in there with. In fact, I hold the title as the only job guy to ever attack a star after the match.
Yep.
And that was Mark's idea. Mark is such an amazing person.
And of
For
course, we're
anybody
talking about
out
Mark
there,
Marrow,
Mark
right?
Marrow,
Yep.
the stuff that he's doing now for kids and stuff in the schools, he is one of the few success stories. That
I'm
got
sorry,
out
I
of the
had to
business.
retire him.
He got out of the business itself, and because of his fame from the business, he took it to help children and help with like children's suicides and all the different problems. He goes to the schools and speaks to kids, and it's like I always give him big ups. We saw him at StarCast last November. He's always been a super nice guy, and in the ring, smooth as silk. It was always fun.
Dude.
But what he did was he goes, "Hey Bob, after the match, I want you to work your way around. Like I'll pin you 1, 2, 3. You roll over, work your way behind me. When the referee raises my hand, I want you to attack me."
And this was on TV.
Yeah, live television
Yeah.
or live to tape. Shoot him in. I go. I forget how it went. I think I went for a clothesline. He ducked it. I turned around and knocked me out because he was doing a big punch thing. When he hit me, Jake the Snake Roberts and I think Jim Ross were on commentary, and just to hear Jim Ross's reaction was like boom, like because when he hit me, I was taught.
And Jake put you over.
Yeah, when
he put you over.
Yeah, when it's a finish, you sell the finish. So
Yeah.
when he hit me, I'm out.
Yeah.
Goodbye. That was his gimmick. And Mark never forgot that. I got to work with him a couple times, and it was like, and we've always had a friendship over the years.
That leads me to my next question for you. So, you've been in the ring with some real heavy hitters, some Hall of Famers even, and
Most of them
you,
are Hall of Famers.
You've been in the ring with, Randy Savage. You've been in the ring with Ricky Steamboat. You've been in the ring with Sting. You've been in the ring with guys even like Das Wonder Kid. You've been with Alex Wright.
I worked a lot with Alex when he first came from Germany, but it's like I try to tell people, I don't include today's guys because they weren't in the business yet, but I worked with everybody but Flair and Hogan. And I never got to work with Ric Flair and never got to work with Hogan, but I worked with everybody else there was, just like him.
Well, I'm going to ask you then, like I asked him, top 5 guys you've been in the ring with that are your favorite guys of all time that you got to work with.
Now, am I excluding independents or am I just talking
No,
about
the
television?
big stars. Don't
Okay,
do
so
it,
for the
man.
big stars, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Mark Marrow, the Road Warriors.
You've had to have worked them multiple times.
The Road Warriors, both of them. But more Hawk. I got to work a lot of single matches with Hawk. Bobby Eaton from the Midnight Express. I never got the pleasure to work with Stanley, and he was already gone by then. And Dennis as well. I'd have loved to work with Cornette. Cornette is the best manager in the business. Even now that he's retired, he's still better than the shit that they got on
I
television.
worked with them all.
That's 4. it's such a tough thing, dude, because there were after a while it becomes you have a friendship with the person, and it's like, and if they didn't hurt you, and they let me do some of my stuff, made me look good, and I put them over, which doesn't mean shit. It's counting the lights for 3 count. Who cares? The people don't remember tomorrow.
I used to know how many lights were out in every building on the East Coast.
I don't know. The fifth spot I would leave open to just about everybody on the crew. I mean, I had some guys like the Cole twins, super nice guys. They're kind of shitty. I worked with.
He said it, not me.
Well, the Cole twins, they own a gas station in Georgia now, for Christ's sake. You know. But
Kinda shitty.
I worked with some guys that were really stiff, but they weren't trying to hurt me. You know, I worked with Vader again down the road. Me and Scott Demora, if that wasn't a rib. It started out as Dwayne booking guys for WWF. Then it became Bob Starr books the guys for WCW. And I booked a guy named Scott Demora.
Yep.
He runs TNA now. Well,
Now, that was your crew,
at the
right?
Well, at the time, he had the Canadian crew. I would call Scott and say, I need 5 more guys, or Jody needs 5 more guys. And like Jody would call me, I would call Scott. Edge, Rhino.
Yeah.
You know, that whole crew from up there would come down, and then Scott just started talking to Jody directly, and you know, I was out of the middle. You know what I mean?
You were one of the guys in WCW that had a crew. You know, not everybody.
Right.
Had
Oh, yeah,
It was,
yeah.
Well, it was me and Dave Sierra, the Cuban assassin from Florida, would bring all the Tampa guys and surrounding areas up, and then I brought the Baltimore guys and Philly guys in my crew. But like I said, it was like Dwayne started it. Taught me how to do it. I got the chance at WCW. I did the same thing. Scott had that crew, which out of all of our crews, I think Scott had
Yeah,
the
well,
most
what it was is
successful.
I had like 10 or
guys.
11 of them from the school that I always took.
Yeah.
So Bobby basically coming out of school, anybody WCW? Okay, let's go.
Yeah,
See you
I
later.
mean, and at one time, it's funny because I'll never forget it. I'm walking past our gorilla at WCW, and Jody Hamilton looks up and he goes, "Hey kid," he goes, "I saw you on TV." I said, "What do you mean saw me on TV? You run the damn show." He goes, "No, I saw you on their TV." And I went, "Oh shit!" And he goes, "No, you ain't got no paper here, you know, but you're gonna have to make a decision eventually because if I'm gonna use you on TV all the time, I can't have my guy that's literally you're on TV every Saturday and you're popping up on their TV too."
Right.
And what had happened? The perfect storm. And this is
And then he brings me down there.
10 years in, you know what I mean? I'm at WCW. I started work at a car dealership here in Maryland, local. I needed a job, you know, I needed health insurance and stuff. So I've finally been there a year. I haven't wrestled all year, like on the road, just independent stuff. Saturday morning comes, we have a big Saturday sale. One of the dealers brings donuts, everybody's happy. And the lady on the loudspeaker says, "Phone call," and you know, my name, whatever. And I'm like, I never get
I know
phone
where this
calls
is
here.
going.
What the hell I do? I go pick up the phone. It's this guy. "Quit your job. We got to go." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" "Quit your job. We got to go, dude. You're going to make more money in 1 week than you're going to make in 6 months there." And I'm going, and here's the thing.
We got 10 days. We got 10 days
Yeah,
with 3 double shots.
Yeah, he, what do you call it? He meant nothing but well. I just literally signed for my health insurance. It took like a year to get all that shit together at the dealership. I just signed for it the week before. And I'm like, "Dwayne, I can't do it, bro," but click. What had happened was, this was the end of the month, because this tour was New Year's week, Christmas to New Year's week, right? So it just so happens, after not leaving the dealership all year, my boss was cool and he knew about the whole wrestling gig. I get a call to go to WCW the first 3 days of December. Go do them 3, come home. No sooner did I come home, WCW called and booked me for 2 days the 3rd week. They said something got screwed up at one of the tapings, we need to tape more stuff, whatever. I'm like, cool, whatever. Go in and ask my boss. He's cool with it. In between, WWF calls for TV the 2nd week, just 2 days. My boss, again, was super cool with it. So now I'm booked 3 weeks in a row. I'm going Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. This guy's calling me going, "Oh, you got to go. You got to leave right now.
10 days.
And you're going to be gone into the new year." And I went up front and I sat down and I said, first he called 3 times. And she kept saying my name on loudspeaker. And then I heard my boss come on and called me to his office. And I walked in and he goes, "What gives? Like, we don't get personal calls here." I'm like, "Dude, it's the wrestling thing." He goes, "Didn't you just do that last week?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but this is WWF calling." And like, don't let anybody lie to you. Everybody wanted a chance to be on tour with WWF. TV doesn't count. It was a tour for us or a road trip, but when you go on tour, you're going city to city to city to city.
And it's fun,
And
man. It's just fun.
Finally, Dwayne got me again. He goes, dude, I'm telling you, you're going to make more money in the next 10 days than you're going to make in the next 3 or 4 months there, legitimately. And I went up front and sat down at my boss's office. I remember like it was yesterday. And I go, look, we really need to talk about this thing. This is a hell of an opportunity for me. I'll make a lot of money. He said, if you leave, you're leaving. I can't. Your job's not going to be here when you get back. I said, well, it was nice to know you. I got to go. I got to be in Pittsburgh at 8 o'clock tonight. Picked up my shit. Out the door I went. I come running into my house, and my mom goes, what the hell I mean, I don't come home till 6 o'clock at night from work.
Can you tell me what year this was?
92.
Mm-hmm.
92, 93.
Yeah.
Or no, 94. It
Was it
94. 'cause
94?
I have the tour shirt still at home.
Oh, okay. All
The
right.
Christmas tour 94.
Mhm.
So I come running in the house. She's like, what the hell are you doing home? I said, I got to go. I got to go over to Wayne's, and we're going. And hilarious. My aunt bought me this giant travel bag for Christmas. I'd never used it. Still in the plastic. All the brand new Zubas I just got for Christmas. Brand new Polaroid camera. All this shit. I'm just cramming it in the bag. All of it. All my outfits. Cramming them because I don't know what I'm doing. All I know is I'm working. You know, whatever.
Just got to bring your gear and go.
Cram that shit, boom, go to his house, and where his house was, the back of it, there was like a strip mall place. Park the car, all the cars are lined up. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, in the car, and we're gone. What had happened was X-Pac's wife, Sean's wife, had gotten sick, and she was pregnant. He was supposed to open the show with Nikolai every night, and he can't leave his house because his pregnant wife is sick, for Christ's sake. So they called, Tony Gurria called Dwayne. Dwayne goes, I know who I'll call. Boom, it worked, and I didn't have another full-time job for 12 years. You know,
Amazing.
total.
It's all his
That
fault.
brings
He
me-
quit, not me.
That brings me
He
to my
did
last
it.
question for you.
Phew, God. That's all he does is ask questions.
And I know, imagine that. In 30 seconds or less. And I'm going to set this up.
He told me we had all day to do this.
So
podcast.
you were up at the big show, right? You were there, WWE. You were there, WCW, during what people would call that golden age
Big Show's
of
another
TV.
wrestler.
The Attitude.
You know, you were there from that late 80s, early 90s, all the way up.
No,
to
not late 80s. I didn't.
Well,
my very first
Nah,
match.
he was
What
in
I'm
the 90s.
talking
He was in
about,
the
what I'm
90s.
talking about
91.
though, what I'm talking about though,
The
is that
Boys?
whole era,
Right,
and
right,
those
right,
were the
right,
guys
right.
that you work with. You had what people would call you had a front row seat for that explosion.
I was there the last time that I worked for WCW was as
That explosion.
I worked as the NWO on Monday Nitro. Was me and a kid Edward DeVoe from Virginia against the Outsiders. And there's a funny story behind that too.
But it was inside they were
that
wrestling.
was my last show because at that time Turner Corporate, everybody was under contract. And in order to do it, I would have had to move to Atlanta. And I
Right.
couldn't because, as you know, I took care of my mom for many years. And she couldn't be left alone. You know what I mean?
Right.
I couldn't do that. And the expense of the flying me constantly down. Now, when I did TV, it's just like him. We drove 12 hours, bro. You know what I mean? It's like
Nothing to it.
I don't lie on podcasts. Take a couple hits, and next thing I'm in Atlanta, and I don't remember shit in between. But there's no scratches on the car, so I know I didn't hit nothing. You know. But the thing of it is I was there at a time when the business was still real. Like the boys took this shit serious, and not to say the kids of today don't take it serious because they're making a lot more money than we did. But we took it seriously as here's the thing: if our secrets get out, you have what happens today. If our secrets never got out, this business would still be, and I'm not saying it's
Booming.
profitable, but you remember WCW floundered for years. They were losing money hand over fist when Ted bought that company from the Crockett's for many different reasons. I was there during that lull, okay, because they weren't going to have 50 major stars on the roster because it cost a fortune. So they had guys like me that were willing to drive, that were willing to do whatever they asked. Like Dwayne said, understand, I'm in the ring with Sting. When I first saw Sting, I was nothing but a fan. You know, and I get to work with him.
And then he raises
That
your
was
hand.
me, man. That was me when I was
That
up
was
there.
it.
Raises your hand.
Funny story, I had blew my knee out. And it happened 2 weeks in a row because I wrestled Randy Savage one week and Sting the next week. And I was playing wiffle ball, okay, in a backyard of a friend of mine's, and I stepped in like a gopher hole, twisted my knee out of the thing, right? I just got it drained the day before I drove 12 straight hours. If you can imagine
Yep.
the pain of that to get to Atlanta. And Randy's like, little brother, don't worry about it. I'll get you paid. I don't want to hurt you. I'm like, Randy, you don't understand. This is like a dream of mine to get to work with you. Don't worry about it. I'll be good. I just can't do crazy shit with the leg. No problem. We'll take care of it. He didn't say another word to me until right before we went to the ring. He goes, we're good, elbow. Everything else, just do your thing. Cool. And this is a macho man telling me this shit, right? Hard on.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Brother.
Wow.
Go out there. He's getting ready to go overseas. He had like an angle running. He was world champion and some kind of angle where he just got attacked the week before, so he's going to come out vicious and blah, blah, blah. You saw the match. He dropped 2 elbows on me. The hardest elbows I've ever had other than the friggin' Nasty Boys.
Yeah.
Randy didn't mean to hurt me, and he didn't mean to stiff me. It's just, it was tight.
It's what you got. You're flying out there. How you gonna stop at? How you gonna stop at?
Actually, his arm was all wrapped up. Then
But-
the next week I worked with Sting. Okay, Sting had just lost the title to a heel, and then Savage got it from the heel. So Sting's way up top. And I went up to him. I said, bro, I got a bad right knee. I got to be really careful. I said, he goes, don't worry about it. And if you saw that match, he didn't use a Scorpion Deathlock, which he beat everybody with. He made that call. They said Scorpion. He said bullshit. He goes, because if I pull your knee out of the socket,
You're done.
He knows I'm not making shit. And sure, the company would have took care of me. I did blow my knee out at WCW, and I was, and I'm total transparency. I was scared to death to say something. I came home, nursed my wounds, paid my own doctor bills because I was afraid that if I caused any kind of ruckus down there, I wouldn't get brought back.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I kept my mouth shut, and actually to this day, it's never been surgically fixed, and it's always been.
But that's what you
Yeah.
did back then.
Yeah.
That's just what you do. You
Yeah,
lick your
I mean-
wounds yourself, man. But you talk about Randy. The funny thing about Randy is when we would be in the locker room, he would always look over at me and be like, "What? What?" Because I was sitting there and I'm just smiling my ass off. I'm going, and you'll attest this. I'm going, Randy, you're you.
Yep.
You're not
And-
somebody different. He
That's
was
not
really
a
like,
character.
well, you sit there talking, well, man, we was driving down the road, and we're like going, and I'm like, because he's talking to somebody and he's really the macho, it's like,
that wasn't a character.
dude,
That
you're
was-
that's him. That's the way he
is.
really talked. That's the
You know,
way he really
yeah.
did it. And he would articulate with his hands the way he always does that. I was laughing so hard, man. I ain't kidding you. Am I lying?
And I'll tell you another story. Very sweet lady. One of my last trips with WCW, I flew out to Denver, worked with the Outsiders, and Elizabeth she was alive.
Oh, she was
She was
awesome.
one of the most sweetest people.
Yep.
And all the stories you heard, they're 90% true. I'll tell you like that. Randy had to protect what was his, and
Yep.
she was his. And in this business, I can love the boys to death, but somebody that beautiful, like you
She
got
was
lost.
stunning. She was
Unlike the
stunning.
girls of today, and I'm not going to say they're not good looking. They're knockouts and stuff, but Elizabeth was naturally
She was
beautiful,
class.
and she was classy.
Not that the girls
That was
aren't
the thing.
clad, but she.
Right.
set
So
the
was
bar.
Sherry Martel.
and Benoit's wife.
Oh, Nancy.
Yeah,
Nancy
Nancy.
Benoit.
She was beautiful, man.
yeah,
They were
and it's
beautiful.
like the
Sherry
girl-
was. People didn't understand how pretty Sherry really
Yeah,
was,
and
man.
if they
I mean,
got to
Sherry
know her,
was
we
smoking,
were
man.
really good friends with Sherry, and it was in here too. It wasn't just that. You got to get past that persona.
Yeah.
Because Randy, I noticed when I would see him out at WCW, he didn't. I've heard the story from some of the other guys. This is the Macho Man, but he's not. He's kind of shy and he doesn't. Like, if he knows you, he'll speak to you. Other than that, you're always questioning
Yeah.
what people want, because somebody always wants something.
Yeah.
And it was just like with us too. Like, we weren't the big stars, but you have to understand, we lived like rock stars. We might be getting beat up at night, but everybody wanted to talk to us, and everybody wanted to hang out with us at the bar, and blah blah blah. And people would come up to you, and it's almost like, "What do you want?" Like, I don't know you, And that's how that brotherhood formed with the boys on the road. You know what I mean? Like, what we had and what they have today, yeah, it's sort of the brotherhood, I'm sure, but it's not the same.
I have literally knocked somebody out over the shoulder of my partner. Am I lying? My partner face to face with the guy. The guy's getting ready to, punch my partner, and I just reach over and go whack and knock him right out.
I've seen
Let's
Scott Hall
go.
do that a few times.
I
Like,
mean,
we'd
nothing
be-
to.
we'd be at a
That's what you
strip bar.
do. That's what you do.
We'd be at our favorite place, the strip bar, and somebody would start like giving me shit, and Scott would see it, stand up, walk right up behind him. It's over. Like as soon as you saw him.
Hey, remember Harley Watkins? Oh my God! If you did something in a bar, that big son of a bitch would eat you alive,
And
man.
it's just a brotherhood, and I'll be honest with you, Mark.
Is that what you? Well, let me ask you, because that was going to be my last question for you before we go to another break. Is that what you miss the most about that time? Is that what was it the brotherhood? Was it what is it that because now you do a lot of you pass on things, do a lot of teaching to these the younger guys you've taught in schools, you've taught young guns. When you were touring with these companies, that brotherhood, the camaraderie, is that what you miss the most? What do you miss the most?
When you worked for WWF, and you didn't have to have a contract, but when you worked like we did, and you're working multiple days a month and stuff like that, these people are your family. I don't know if it's still like that. They might be buddies and stuff, but we saw those guys more than I saw my mom.
And can I interrupt there? What was cool is it started out when you went up there. You're sitting there and you're looking across the room, and there's Hulk Hogan, there's the Macho Man, there's the Road Warriors, there's the Steiners, there's the, you know what I mean? And you're like, oh my God. And you're scared to do anything. Then you're like, wait a minute. They're just normal people.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. They're my friend. Now I'm working them. Now you're talking to them. Now you're bullshitting with them. Next thing you know, you're at the bar. Next thing you know, wait a minute. You're calling each other. You're not on the road. These guys are my friends. What the hell is going on here, man? Whoa. And then after a while, you're like, wow, this is family. This is awesome, man. Because you're brought into their family. They're not brought into yours. You understand what I'm saying? Because back then, Vince had it down, man. He knew how to do it. He did. Nowadays, with all the security and all it's ridiculous. I can't. It used to be I could go up there and just walk up and go, hey, guys, what's up, man? Gillberg, I'm going to go back and see the boys. All right, go ahead, man.
Do that anymore.
No. I can show them my ID and all. They'll call it. They got to call Connecticut, and they got to okay it through this guy. So it would take the whole damn show for it to get okayed anyway.
When I came to, we would go to the Baltimore Arena, okay? I worked for both companies. He worked for both companies. The guy at the pass gate knew who we were.
Yep. Hey, what's up, guys? Come on in.
I was a young kid.
So
It's been the same guy since I was a little kid coming to the shows as a Mark. He knows me now, and he's like, holy shit, how you doing? Like, I saw you on TV, whatever. And they never forgot that stuff. So I could walk into concerts. I could walk into anything I want. Just show up, walk through the pass gate.
But now you walk up there. I could be walking up, and the guy standing there, the guard, and 500 people are going, Gillberg. Hey, man, what's up? And I'm going, hey, I'm Gillberg. And they're going, who are you?
They have no.
Are you sure? Well,
what do you think? They're telling me.
You think I hired these people?
At WCW, they gave me a backstage pass in Orlando, and it was hilarious because I just kept it in my pouch. Because anywhere I went, I just show it. It says Orlando on it, and they still let you in because they knew who you were. They saw you on TV. Yeah. Let's go to break with this thought. The Wendy's commercial on WCW Saturday night outdraws WWE Raw today. Use that for food for thought.
Wow. Speaking of WCW, thank you for, first of all, Bob Starr, everyone. Thank you, Bob, for jumping in.
Yeah, Bob. Hey, you going to hang out for the last segment with us, though?
We got one more segment coming along.
Awesome, man.
We're going to call it our Throwback Throwdown, where we take a old WCW or WWE pay-per-view. We just talk about it. Why? Because it's fun. We like talking about the old days.
Kid, we're going to shit all over it.
Hey, guys, don't go away. We'll be right back.
See ya. Gillberg's Pro Wrestling Podcast. Hey everybody, it's Gillberg, and man, am I excited to be on Cameo. Give all your interesting and most favorite people a cameo from Gillberg. So get in touch with me, baby, and here I come.
Hey, welcome back to Gillberg's Pro Wrestling Podcast. Dwayne Gill here.
Hey, what's up?
Bob Starr hanging
out.
Guys, thanks for hanging out with us. So let's talk about some old school WCW. Why? Because that's your bread and butter, man. And this week,
for a long time.
When we're talking about, obviously, so this is airing in the month of October, so I just went to an old school WCW library, and I pulled out an old Halloween Havoc pay-per-view, and I just happened to pick this one out of the bag, and I'm looking at it, I'm looking over it.
WCW library?
It's amazing, because before you start, understand something, that concept was Dusty Rhodes' Halloween Havoc. Could you imagine if WWE got their head out of their ass and used that?
What a
the
great-
production that they could do.
Oh,
like
man.
WCW, they did a lot of really good production for
Absolutely.
these shows, all the Halloween Havocs. But could you imagine WWE? Because
Head
WWE,
out of their
I
ass.
always said, hey, you said shoot, right?
Go ahead, man. I'm just
but
filling
WCW
in.
spent a lot of money in production. Everybody does, but WWE goes the extra mile with production. You know what I mean? Like where it's insane the amount of money they spend. But what could they have done with Halloween Havoc?
Well, and you know, it's funny you say that about Halloween Havoc, man. That set, you think of that set immediately with the big goblin
Well, they
and the
coulda
big
had
pumpkin and the two
Halloween.
sides. Well, so we're going to talk about Halloween Havoc 1998. And the good thing about Halloween Havoc 1998, well, I guess the more infamous thing,
Not good.
that
thing
was
about it.
that was the infamous Hogan Warrior Part 2.
Wow, them guys
$1 million
can really work,
match.
man.
Well,
They
and-
can really
At
work.
least.
You know, and the pay-per-view itself was pretty solid. It was pretty solid from the get-go, and you know, and it's really funny. The biggest pop of the night was not the world title match.
Come on.
It wasn't Hogan
No.
and Warrior. The biggest pop of the night was Rick Steiner going over on his brother.
Yep.
Scott Steiner. That place lost. The place went nuts.
Where do you know? Do you remember where it was?
Because
in Vegas.
Scott
It was-
got
It was in
the
Vegas
heat.
for a couple of times.
Scott
but we were-
got
they
the
had
heat that you
Philadelphia.
needed for that to
Oh.
happen.
And you know what's so funny about that? So at that time, obviously, I'm a teenager, you know, and I'm watching it on TV, so I'm strictly looking at this from the perspective of a fan, and I hated Scott Steiner.
That's why
and he
you gotta
was
give
so
that match. You
good.
gotta give that to
at
Scott.
being
He brought
that
the heat on,
heel.
man.
Oh, what a
Scott
heel!
Steiner to this day still, like, there's a few guys since I've been in the business that you had to wonder. Brian Pillman was one.
Was this
Is this real?
or
this-
is it a work?
I mean, because I watched him lose his mind on people at the swimming pool at the hotels we stay at in Orlando. Like
it's
just
the truth,
blah, blah. Dude, I remember Del Wilkes, the Patriot, told him one night, Brian, shut the fuck up and sit down before you get us thrown out of here. I'm gonna beat your ass. And Brian just sat there, and you could just see. And I'm thinking, this dude's out of his mind. Like,
is this
he's
real?
Crazy. Like what is he doing? Like what extracurricular shit is he doing? And it wasn't that. That was just Brian.
just
Brian
the way
was
it was.
crazy, man. And then you had let's see who else.
Always
Scott
wide
Steiner.
open.
Scott Steiner with the what do you call it? The whole big bad booty daddy thing.
Yep.
Insane. He's doing something with his hammer.
No, I'm not doing nothing. Go ahead. Big bad duty daddy.
So
Big
we,
bad
we
duty
can talk
daddy.
about that aspect, but obviously the biggest thing of that night was Warrior Hogan.
That was the
part
night.
2.
That was the night that Hulk, and it is what it is. Hulk did a job for him at WWE or WWF,
uh-huh.
and Warrior never returned the favor. And he was going to return the favor, but it cost that company dearly.
Well,
Yes,
and you know what? It's so
sir,
funny.
buddy.
I did a lot of looking. You know, once I realized, oh my gosh, yes, this is that pay-per-view. I kind of wanted to, you know, you've heard rumblings over the years. Now, strictly as a kid, I remember sitting there watching it going, wait a minute, first of all, it's pissing me off that they're not calling him the Ultimate Warrior. You know, and obviously for legal reasons they couldn't. So right out the gate, that bothered me. Second of all, you're sitting there and you're talking, when they're cutting these promos, they kept referring to WrestleMania 6. Why are you referring to the match that already happened? Because
Because that was the only.
That was a good
storyline-
one.
Well, that's the only storyline they had.
right, so but
Like because when that happened, that was I
He
think
got
Hulk's
so
last
crazy
match
down
there.
there though. It, my warriors.
so and it to me what a great on paper. Who wouldn't book that match?
Yeah. And
That's a
it- and it
bajillion
drew-
dollar
it drew-
match.
I'm
Me,
sure
I
it
couldn't
drew a big
afford it,
rating
man.
too.
Wouldn't
Too
book
much
that.
money.
Who wouldn't book that? On paper, that's money. And WCW had done such a good job at that. You know, they did Hogan and Macho all over again. So why wouldn't you do that? It's a great concept that just the execution.
Well, you got the Ultimate Warrior on Xanax.
Yeah.
Think about it. When he was at WWF, you'd swear he was snorting a line of coke and running out the door right to the ring because he was insane.
Yeah.
Shaking the ropes up. What you got in WCW wasn't the same thing. Like, I mean, I'm not going to say he wasn't in phenomenal shape. He absolutely was. But Jim never got to be a better worker. Like, he was what he was.
He just was.
I
he was
watched
what he
Barry
was.
Hardy. I'll never forget it. We were in Niagara Falls. Front page of the newspaper.
Yep.
Ultimate Warrior like this.
Yes,
holding Barry in the
sir,
air.
buddy.
You know what I mean? Like, I knew what the Warrior was up there. And when I saw him at WCW, I mean, he's older. You know, it was 10 years later.
He was
whatever.
so
But Hulk,
big.
and I mean no disrespect to that
Mm-hmm.
man at all. He's always been nice to me whenever he saw me. But I knew right from the beginning what it was. He wanted that steam back.
wanted
from
to
that
win.
when he did the job and never got returned. And that's what this business is about. On your way up, everybody does a job for you, and on your way out, you do the job
You
for
do the
them
job for
as
them.
you go out the door.
That's what you're supposed to do.
And that's what the business was founded on, you know. And Hulk was going to get that win back, no matter how much it cost Bischoff.
Well,
But it did pop ratings, and that's what they wanted.
Well,
to
that's
do.
another. That you bring up a question that I didn't have. I'm just thinking about this right now, listening to what you're saying. Do you think, because there's you can watch it, you can look at different people talking about that match, whether it's Tony Schiavone, Kevin Sullivan, Eric Bischoff, Triple H even commented on it once. Do you think Hogan? Everyone says, "Hey, yeah, this was Hogan just getting that win back. It was an ego-driven move for him to
Well,
get
it
his
was
way."
a
But do
major
you
money
think?
deal.
But do you think that there was anything wrong with that, from an insider's perspective? Because they were going to make their money going into those buys anyway.
It's a work. It's 3 count. It doesn't mean shit.
Doesn't mean anything.
It's all money.
Right.
Here's the deal. Hulk's a businessman, and he knew he wanted that,
Mm-hmm.
but he also knew when he put that on paper, it cost Bischoff a lot of money to make that happen.
Yeah.
You know, Warrior did not come cheap. I mean, Hulk went to that. If it wouldn't have been Hulk going to Warrior, you would have never saw him again anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Hulk, he talked all kind of shit about Hulk after it was all said and done.
Yeah.
The bottom line is, and a lot of people forget, we all owe our shit to Hulk. The business was dying when he came up.
Yep.
And when he came up, he happened to be the right man at the right time with the right body with
Vince
the right
is
kid.
right. When the Sheik took it over and Hulk came in, the great American because remember, Hogan was a heel. Hogan was a heel all the way up till he wrestled the Sheik. And Vince brought him in as the huge face. I
Yeah.
mean, just put him over. Boom.
Well, that's why he left his job in AWA. I mean, come on, back then you circled in and out of these companies. Like you would go to AWA for 6 months, and then when they're done with you with whatever run they had in mind, then you go to the NWA or NWA Florida.
I
or
swear to God,
Mid-Atlantic
Jimmy
or-
Hart told Barry Hardy and myself, I know a dozen times back in, I'll say 91, 92, they said, if you could go to Memphis for 6 months, you guys would be huge stars. But I couldn't do it because Memphis meant making $50
$40
a
a
day.
Yeah.
You know, $50 a day, and that's to eat, travel, and get your hotel on. And I had a family at home. I had 2
Yeah.
kids at home.
I
had
couldn't
one
do it,
kid
and I
at
was
home
single
then.
with no kids.
And I couldn't
He had-
do it. I couldn't pay my rent. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do it. No, I mean, I was offered
people
many
make
times.
jokes, but the only guys that really did the thing down there was rats everywhere. If it wasn't for them, God bless them, the girls of the time, which everybody knows what I'm talking about that would be listening to a podcast. These guys, if they couldn't stay with them and them help clean it, like do their laundry or help feed them
Yeah.
and stuff, they would starve to death.
They would starve
And
to
many guys did starve. I know stories of guys eating bags of potatoes, and that's all they had to eat.
Yep.
That's ridiculous. You're a friggin' wrestling
truth.
star on television.
They would boil
this
them and
dude
then
has
take them
to-
around.
Yeah, these guys would have to eat just potatoes because to get their calories so they could work out. Because that was mostly the guys that would work out and stuff like that. The other guys lived off of friggin' $1 cheeseburgers from McDonald's and shit.
Oh.
You know, Axel Rotten and Ian Rotten went down there for a little while, and then Axel actually had a chance to work with Lawler, and he no-showed that whole deal. He that was his first shot, and I'll be honest, the story I know from his mouth, he got scared, turned around, drove back home. He got halfway there, turned around, and came back home. Well, that was the end of him in Memphis because you just screwed Jerry Lawler's thing up. And then they went back as Bad Breed later and became the stars they did. But it's people just like everybody has their own mindset and stuff. And until you can sit Hulk right here and tell me he's not working you, I don't believe it. Because you understand the business that we're in.
Yeah, but
We
Hogan's
make
so
the
good, he could talk you
unbelievable
right to your face
believable.
and
Right.
He would work you.
Yeah, but I'm saying you make the unbelievable believable, okay? And that's why real quick, as we slide into a WCW pay-per-view, I decided, when Dwayne called me, I've had some personal issues and stuff in the last couple of years, and I'll make the announcement today, I got one more year, and I'm done. And
Wow.
it sucks, but I'm 49. When I turn 50, I need to get my life. Dwayne had one. I need one now. So
Man.
as stupid as it sounds, I refereeing here and there, something like that. But dude, last time I got in the ring, I got hurt. It took 3.5 weeks just to feel normal again, you know. And that was all it was. A dude put a knee on my side, and he didn't mean to. Like Christ, it was friends of mine.
Stuff
you know.
happens.
It just
The time
business
before
is
I
so-
retired, I was wrestling
Oh.
wrestling James Ellsworth, and I literally, this is no shit. I literally went to a sunset flip, and I speared myself right into the canvas and knocked myself out. I mean, cut a hole in the top of my head that big. It took the meat right off. You can ask Ellsworth if I'm lying, man. He was like, he's fucking slapped me in the face. What the hell, man? What do you?
And people, you know, some people.
was out.
His fans are going to watch, your fans are going to watch, mine are going to watch, whatever, and listen to this podcast. And they go, oh, big deal. Bob said, no, you don't get it. Like, these were our dreams.
That's the end of an
Yeah.
era, too, man,
Yeah.
if he retires.
We had a dream of being a big star. But we also were smart enough to go, I'm not 300 pounds. I don't have the money
Just want to make a
or
living.
the know-how to gas up to that. And and you don't know what's going to happen when you do that kind of shit. Some guys got phenomenal, and some guys went to shit and died. you
Let me
know?
explain something to you real quick. Barry Hardy and I started MCW way back. And Danny McDevitt has taken that son of a bitch to the next level. Way to go, Dan. Okay, but we started it way back. And our motto was, and this is no shit, every show has to have a Bob Star. Every show we ever ran, we made sure Bob Star was on it. Because he could do anything, man. He was awesome.
Well, and you know,
He really was.
Bob, you know, I appreciate you coming in.
I
know,
wouldn't have missed this for the world. When he brought it
well-
up to me and then said that I would be on the first show, I was it's a hard thing.
Well, let me tell
know?
you,
Like,
man. When I
it's my
first
boy,
started,
man.
because you know we're gonna wrap this up here in just a few minutes, but when I first got brought in about 10 years ago, first time walking into the locker room with all the boys, and
Where were we at? We were at the pool hall place.
we were at the pool hall. We're at the green room, and I remember the first time I met you. You came up to me, and you shook my hand, looking off to the side. You gave me the boys shake. No idea. So I'm like, what the hell did I do to this guy?
He thought,
and then
he
I
thought
start-
you were being real cheap
But then
like
I started
fucking-
talking, and then you'd come up to me, and you became a brother. You became a friend.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm very proud to say that I know you, and I'm
That
proud
makes two of us,
and,
bro.
and I'm proud to
Because we
say
haven't
that
talked about you,
you
and
know,
your
Yeah,
country.
because
Some
people
of
don't
the
realize
stuff-
this is
well-
Mark Bray.
well, some of the
Yeah,
stuff
he's a
that you
country
do,
star.
some of the stuff that you've done, some of the things that you've accomplished. You know, I think you were top 500 wrestler, Pro Sports Illustrated,
Many
like
times,
450
many times.
something. I think you know that's
got
Guys
3
don't
Hall
have
of
that.
Fames, you know, from local
you know
organizations.
you
and stuff.
you
Yes, sir.
You've been to the show. You've been in the ring with guys that are huge. You know, we picked WCW event because you were there.
Yeah.
You lived that, and
There's not
you know,
a lot of us left.
I'm
either.
grateful that you came on the program. I know Dwayne's grateful that you came on the program.
Oh, I am. I love Bobby.
I tell you what, though, guys, we're gonna have so much moving forward with this show, man. Guys, make sure you check it us online.
Look,
Make sure you subscribe.
Before he checks out, I'm not letting him check out that quick. If anybody's wondering who I make these little cracks to, I'm talking to the production studio, the production guys right here. And let me say, POD Productions, thank you guys so much because we
Absolutely,
can't
top
do this,
notch.
man, without you. These guys are awesome, man, and I'm just having a ball with them. When you see me whisper into the mic, I'm talking to them.
No, they can hear you.
It's little jokes, okay? So it's funny as hell to us.
Hey guys, thank you for joining us for our first edition of Gillberg's Pro Wrestling Podcast. I'm Mark Bray, Gillberg here.
And I'm Gillberg, brother. We got to leave in style.
Bob Starr, thanks for joining us. We're going to see you next time. Make sure you guys subscribe so you can find out when we're going to be
Click,
on next.
Click.
We
Share
will
this
see you
stuff.
next time. Click, share, and subscribe.
Gillberg's Pro Wrestling Podcast.